Hello, everyone. My name is Gilles Hendricks, and I'm a product manager at Logic Technology. I am mainly responsible for our accelerate development solutions for both hardware and software projects. One of those tools we use to help customers accelerate their software projects is Incredibuild. And with me from Incredibuild is Yochai West. Tell us a bit more about yourself and what is Incredibuild?
Hi, so thanks for having me. I'm the director of product marketing at Incredibuild for nearly 3 years now. When I first joined, we were only 50 people, and now we're 250. So I've seen incredible growth in the company, and it's amazing to share this with our partners and with the rest of you. So Incredibuild is the leading platform for development acceleration. What that is that we enable companies to deliver faster dev cycles and time to market with more compute power and less cost on-prem and in the cloud. And we'll go into more details right about how that's done right now. So first, what we do is we create a compute grid. That grid, as we call it, is a dynamic pool of cores that you have, whether it be on your laptops, in your build farms, or even in your cloud instances. Then what we do is we break those down into microprocesses, micro tasks. Then what we do after that is we use a patented build cache technology to see what has already been built across the network. And therefore, we can totally even avoid building if something has already been built. Whatever is left, we then distribute those across the network. So ultimately, you're taking something that takes possibly multiple hours and can bring that down to just a few minutes. Hope that was a good enough explanation for you in short time.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, long builds is definitely a hot topic among our customers. So can you give me some examples on how do I know it's right for them?
Excellent. So our sweet spot is C++ with long builds. The minimum is usually around 30 minutes to really feel that pain. But you know what? It can also be 10-minute increments if you're doing that at a high volume of builds per day. So it's really a range of things. We've seen customers who have anywhere from also 2 hours to even 14 hours sometimes of a build. And it's many times what makes companies then do what we call nightly builds because it just takes too long. So you have to kind of really look at how you're building and challenge what the norm is in your organization and see where that pain is and how much time that is. As far as our operating system support, we are in Windows. We also support Linux, and we have Mac in our roadmap. So we are working at that right now. So if you have any interests in Mac, definitely something to look into. In addition, it can be installed on anything from a physical machine, a VM, containers, Kubernetes, all those are supported. And we also support probably the most pervasive CI tools out there, such as Jenkins, GitLab, Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, and TeamCity.
All right. Some of the CI tools you mentioned are already capable of running multiple builds in parallel. Do I still need Incredibuild?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I like to use the analogy of shopping. You're at a shopping cart, and let's say that's your build. And you have a bunch of bags, right, that you have in your shopping cart with all the different items inside. So what CIs know what to do, they know how to parallel the jobs that they do. So that would be, in this analogy, taking out the bag full of items and putting that on the different tills or the different counters to be able to then, in parallel, check those through. So that can go pretty fast. So something that, let's say in Jenkins, can take 2 hours, possibly can bring that down by half. That is amazing. And CIs are great for that. Where Incredibuild comes in is where the CIs finish, which in this analogy would be, we would take out all the different items from these bags and then run those in parallel across the tills. So Jenkins, an example, can do 2 hours, let's say 1 hour, but then with Incredibuild, you can get down to a minute. Now, that is not the only thing that we do. In addition, we have to the parallel builds, we also have what we call the build monitor. For many customers, that is the first time they actually are able to see what their build looks like. And even just looking at that gives them tremendous insight into their dependencies, what are their bottlenecks, and how they can optimize their code structure.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Yochai. Earlier, you mentioned cloud. How does this work exactly? And should I be worried my source code is being distributed across the cloud?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Incredible for Cloud runs on your cloud environment. It's not our cloud. It's in your environment and it's behind your firewall. So really there is no worries here as far as the source code being shared. That's between you and your provider. As far as the value that Incredibuild for Cloud gives, it really is the right fit for companies who want to automatically burst into the cloud when needed, or actually run entirely in the cloud. And we have customers from both perspectives. Incredibuild's main, I would say, feature add, in addition to the regular Incredibuild distribution solution on the cloud, is that we have something called smart auto scaling, which optimizes your processes by getting you compute resources based on your most precise view of your build's acceleration potential. So you're never going to over provision or under provision, and you're always able to marry those two together at the exact time. So this way you can spin up resources that match your exact needs, maximizing productivity, minimizing costs. So for those who have, let's say, small or no DevOps teams and need to manage something like this, it is a tremendous relief for those teams.
Yeah, you also already mentioned some of the benefits for DevOps managers. So can you maybe break this down to who benefit in what way from this tool?
Sure, definitely. So let's start with the developers themselves. First of all, for many developers, they don't even know it's there. It is transparent. To use a sports analogy, it's like a great referee. They just don't get in the way. For customers who have used Incredibuild for many, many years, and I've asked, what was the before Incredibuild? They don't even know what it is to develop without Incredibuild. All we know is that if it's removed, it is worse than the coffee machine breaking down. So that's something that we know. But if I was to define that into like two real main value points for the developers, it's faster feedback loops and less context switching. So faster feedback loops, we know, is that the faster, if it's still fresh in the moment that the developers can get that feedback back, the better impact they will, even possibly shift left when needed. And as far as context switching, and we know developers don't like to be tapped on the shoulder for questions, don't like to shift between things. So even if they're shifting to some other work item, still keeping them in the zone for the longer amount of time is definitely the goal. Let's move on to the IT, because IT is something that you're going to meet up with when trying to bring Incredible into your organization. And some of the things that will definitely benefit them is the idea that it's a heterogeneous environment support, which means that you can really use any machine regardless of what is installed. So if we go back to the example of how it works, right, where we break down the tasks into different microprocesses and then we farm those out in the grid. So the initiator machine is really the only thing that needs to have, let's say, the Visual Studio or any other IDE and those files. So now if, let's say, you're using another computer on your network as a helper, that machine doesn't have to have the source file, the files, or the IDE in order to complete those tasks. What we do is we create a virtual environment that is then tricks, in a sense, the computer to understand that it has everything that it needs and able to then to process that back. So again, it's totally any machine it can be installed in. Also, we also have 100% utilization of existing infrastructure, especially these days when we're looking for how to really stretch our budgets, not necessarily buy new computers, and how do we get the most out of our current hardware. Then it really does, the software element gives you way beyond the physical cores you have in your machine. So that's something, again, IT is always looking for when they're always trying to get more and get more and get more. And then those who are thinking about going into the cloud or in the cloud, it gives them better utilization of the cloud resources. Like we said before, we're able to spin up and spin down instances, but it's not just that automation. It allows for many organizations to really get the cheapest instance available in the cloud today, which is commonly referred to as spot. So spot instances are great because they are the cheapest, but the problem is that it can be taken away from you at any given time. The way that Incredibuild works, that there's always the fallback. There's always that if something gets taken away, the cash from that is transferred to the next item and it's spun up almost immediately without any downtime. So organizations, especially IT, who are especially now looking to cut costs, are able to use the cheapest instances available, but increasing in productivity and acceleration at the same time. And then last but not least, if we talk about the benefit to management or the general business as a whole, I think one is risk averse. We're able to give more time to quality testing and be able to meet those version releases on time, which of course the ramification of a buggy system or something that is not released on time can pose risk to the general business. Increasing productivity as a whole, many organizations have productivity enhancements as a goal and how to measure that. So that's definitely something in there. And in the overall quality of the code and the products that are delivered in the end, which ultimately can give a competitive edge. So I think those are the three that I would say. Of course, there's a lot more intricacies and little things that can be, we can dive more into. We have ROI calculators and business value assessments that we can do with any customer that's interested. But hopefully that's good way to start.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having me. And looking forward to working with any of you guys to really bring productivity to the max.
Perfect. Thank you very much.